Thank you very much for tuning in today, and welcome to the session, Engineering and Business, Combining Your Expertise for Maximum Impact. This is Ying from the Admissions Office, and I will be your MC for this session. To give you some background information, HKU has recently launched a revamped program called the Global Engineering and Business Program, or in short, the GEBP, with a vision to train future leaders with the global perspective and the technical expertise to answer challenges of our time. The GEBP is a 5-year undergraduate double degree program where students will spend the first 4 years focusing on engineering and to get the professional accreditation, and to top it up with the 5th year focusing on business. Students will be able to choose a major of their choice from each of the faculty under the respective program. And by the time they graduate, they will be able to gain a Bachelor of Engineering and a Bachelor of Business Administration. As you can see, this is a very attractive program for students with an interest in engineering and the ambition to innovate and diversify. By equipping students with the engineering and business skill sets and allowing them to explore the possible combination and meaningful connections between the two, the program will prepare students for the fast-changing job market and open doors to new, exciting possibilities. We are very fortunate to have professors, current students, and alum to share with us something about this program and the training they have received at HKU and the myriad of opportunities that this program provides to students. So let me take some time to introduce the speakers for today. On my right, we have Dr. Ernest Loh from the HKU Business School. He teaches creativity and business innovation at the faculty, and he's also an electrical engineer and entrepreneur himself, so I would allow him to tell you a little bit more about himself later on. Next, we have Professor Edmund Lam, Associate Dean Teaching and Learning from the Department of Electrical and Electronic Engineering, and Professor Reynold Chang from the Department of Computer Science. So both of them have many years of experiences in their respective fields. And we also have a current student, Ryan, who is a 5th year student from the program. I believe he recently got a return offer, so he'll be working at Goldman Sachs after he graduates. And he will tell you a little bit more about his experience and how HKU prepares him to go into the corporate world. Last but not least, with Ankit, an HKU engineering graduate, so an alum from us, and also the co-founder of a startup called Planto. He will tell us his journey with us, as well as how he's able to combine engineering and business knowledge to create impact in the real world. Now, I would like to first invite Professor Lam to tell us a little bit about the Faculty of Engineering and the work that they have done towards supporting technological innovation among students. So, Professor Lam, please.
Thank you. Right, so I'll start with engineering, and I'll start with HKU Engineering. And I think the choice is obvious, why you want to go for HKU Engineering. You usually hear things like this. We have the longest history, we have the widest spectrum. So you think about HKU, engineering is one of the founding faculties, so it is as old as HKU itself, the first university in Hong Kong, the first engineering school in Hong Kong. And we have departments, we have programs that span from civil engineering, computer science, electrical and electronic engineering, industrial and manufacturing systems engineering, and mechanical engineering. And we have distinguished alumni leading the society through many years of engineering changes. We have the very high ranking internationally. And I'm not just here to talk about engineering. So let's step back a little bit from HKU Engineering, and then how about what are we looking at engineering, and why we want to add this business component to the engineering disciplines. So first of all, let's think about engineering. Engineering is a professional program. giving you professional degrees. What does that mean? That means that it has a certain status that others who do not have the engineering training do not have that status. Right? There are certain disciplines that you don't really need that education to enter into, but engineering is a professional degree. But on top of that, it's not just professional, it's also global. And you think about it, there are other professional disciplines, but many of them are pretty local, perhaps because of the language, perhaps because of the culture, perhaps because of certain regulations, such that if you get a degree in those professional areas in a certain university or a certain locality, it is difficult for you to practice or to work somewhere else. But engineering inherently is professional and global. The language we use, think about programming languages. They don't have a dialect in Asia and another dialect in Europe and another dialect in America. It's the same language. If you know how to do the programming here, you know how to do the programming in another part of the world. Think about the mathematics, universal. The way we tackle problems, universal. In fact, think about the pandemics. The problems that we face are also pretty universal. We are all very concerned with how we can put on face masks to prevent the spread of the virus, and we want to understand how, for example, the air quality affects the transmission of the virus. Things like that, right? So engineering is professional, it's global. It gives you the depth of knowledge to be able to solve problems with quantitative skills, right? So that's the advantage of an engineering training. Now, how about business? Of course, I will leave more to Dr. Low to talk more about from the business side. But engineering, you think about it, gives you the depth, the quantitative skills, the perspective to understand and to tackle problems. But that's not the whole story, right? There are many engineering disciplines, all of which can combine with these business combinations. There's only one that you can't do, which is computer science, and this one called information systems and analytics. If you look at the combinations, there are 8 in engineering, 5 in business. 8 times 5, you get 40, minus 1, you get 39 different combinations, all of which fits into this T shape. And this is my main message I want to communicate to you, which is that these 8 different engineering disciplines, they all try to give you the vertical, the way you acquire the quantitative scientific understanding of a problem. Right? But that helps you solve problems. But to translate that problem solving to have societal impact, that's the horizontal part. If you have a good idea, you tackle certain problems in the lab. Well, you can feel good about doing that. But if you want to have impact, if you want to bring that into the world, you need that business side, how to form a company, how to raise money, how to market that idea, how to organize a company, manage the human resources. All these are needed to help you combine with the depth. You have the breadth, you have the depth, and that makes a pretty nice looking T. If you only have the breadth, not the depth, or the other way, the T is pretty ugly shaped, right? So hopefully this is the main message I want to communicate to you, why we were interested, why we spend the effort to develop this global engineering and business program. So all the keywords are important. This is global. You are looking at global issues. You can work, you can tackle problems internationally. Right? but it's also both about engineering and business. Okay. In the engineering side, we have this thing called Innovation Wing, which is one of the very good facilities. We just opened this one, where you can form interdisciplinary groups to tackle different problems. We have a lot of engineering students there, but we also welcome other students to help combine this T shape. Right? So this is something what we call experiential learning, where through hands-on experience, you can try to develop new, interesting solutions. So our goal, this is the drawing, but now if you can set foot on Hong Kong U campus, you will see that this is actually open already. You can actually go in. And I think earlier, today we have a virtual tour, and I hope you will be able to get some sense of the space, what is available over there. Right? And then we have something called the Innovation Academy, sort of complementing the hardware. So with this, we have this trying to be a magnet for the talents and platform where we can stimulate further ideas. So we have different activities and combining the facilities I mentioned. Right? So I'll show you some pictures of and the environment, and then how we remember I said right at the beginning that Hong Kong U Engineering, it's the oldest, has the best alumni network and all that. And when you think about the horizontal part, when you think about starting your own business and all that, these become even more important, where you can have connections, you can have mentors to help you, you can have the resources. Right? So this is another reason why we have the platform for you to take advantage of. Right? And this is an activity we call InnoShow that showcase such innovation. Right, so I pass to Dr. Loh.
Thank you, Professor Lam, for the inspiring talk. So just a reminder, for students who would have questions for any of the speakers, you are very welcome to type those in to either the chat or the Q&A section. We'll get to them towards the end of the session. And as Professor Lam mentioned, there will be a tour, a virtual tour of the Innovation Wing right after this session in English at 3:45. So make sure you check it out after the session. So now, Dr. Loh, I would pass the floor to you.
Okay. Well, thanks, Professor Lam, for introducing this really exciting program. Well, I guess after hearing from Professor Lam, maybe you can already make a decision, right? This is really a rare chance for you to gain expertise from both areas, engineering and business. Well, I'm Dr. Loh. You can call me Ernest. I'm teaching creativity and business innovation at the Business School. And Ying basically has told me to, well, maybe let's talk about my personal story so that you guys know, well, why business and engineering can combine together to create huge impact, okay? So hopefully, well, you guys are smart guys, and then I really hope you guys to be able to be pioneers in the future, driving impact and driving development of the society, okay? So let me introduce my background. I'm from Business School, but actually, I have got an engineering background. So I did research on wireless communications. I did my postdoc at Stanford, and then after that, I basically helped a foreign, I can tell directly, I helped Catalonia, a place in Spain, to set up a smart city R&D institution. And then after that, I kind of pivoted. I changed my career from engineering to business. I founded my own company, Future Impact Lab, and I also founded the Hong Kong Internet of Things Alliance like 7 years ago. Well, here are some pictures of my ex-colleagues. So you may ask why I changed my career. Well, actually, I can tell you I'm not really changing, but then I'm combining engineering and business. Why? Because I feel like I can achieve excellence in engineering. Why don't I further maximize my impact so that people in the society can really benefit from myself? And that's when I realized the importance of combining business and engineering. Okay? So the first question I want to ask you today is, what is your dream? Dream is very important. You can see every successful entrepreneur, they should first of all have their own vision. The vision determines the potential height of your personal career. So you got to have a vision. You know what is your dream. For example, my dream, well, I wanted to be a scientist. I wanted to create values for people. And so, well, of course, I was from electrical engineering. I admired a lot of great engineering companies. For example, I guess it is easy for you guys to name few big names. For example, these few companies, Qualcomm, Google, Apple, they kind of changed our digital life in terms of communication and information gathering and searching, and also knowledge management as well. These days, people simply go to internet, Google, whatever they don't really know. Maybe they don't even go to the library anymore, right? Then we have some other corporates taking our daily routine to next level. You know, well, you can see electric cars on the road very easily, and maybe in 10 years, you guys are traveling to space, right? The SpaceX. And we also have NVIDIA and Boston Dynamics. Well, NVIDIA was traditionally a display card company, but now they are dominating the AI market. And Boston Dynamics, they're really good at robotics, right? Human-like robots. And, well, you will wonder, okay, yeah, these are great engineering firms. How are they relevant to business? Indeed, why are they so successful? Let's add this term, human-centric. Because they're all doing human-centric engineering. And this is really important, and this is what you can get from the business school. Human-centric designs. So I would say, well, if we need to summarize the benefit of business school and engineering, I would say business school can offer you a fast path to human-centric engineering success. And I'm going to let you know why today. So as Professor Lam has introduced, from business school, you can basically choose from these 5 areas. And imagine you are really doing very well in engineering or science. If you really want to take it to the next level, what do you need? Well, even you are a genius, you can do very limited things if you're on your own. So you need a team, right? You need a really good collaborating team to take your innovation to the next level. And that's why we have these 5 areas helping you out. For example, if you want to be an entrepreneur, to basically design your business roadmap and technology roadmap, how to combine them together, how to tell the story to your potential users, investors, so that people are engaged. And in this group operation, no matter it is for business, for nonprofit, or even for your own interest, it is about human being. It is about interaction between people. It is about values matching, right? You're on the same team. Different members will have different needs. How are you going to address the needs of one another while at the same time achieving the same goal? This is really important. And I'm not going to talk about details of these. Hopefully, I can see you guys in person at HKU, and then we can talk about this, okay, in detail. So, business training is going to develop a really sharp eye on value matching. If you don't know the values needed by the others, you don't know what to offer, even you are a genius. If you don't know the values of the society, what they need, what the majority needs, you cannot really prioritize your life. So value matching is really important. And this is all about what business training is about, value matching. So now, let me give you a little bit exercises. These are all my personal experience stuff. So you can see from this slide, I have a very simple equation. You can do the math by yourself, how you're going to maximize the impact. So what do you need to do in terms of engineering and business? So for example, the first exercise is, suppose that you are given a task, an engineering task of reinventing a light bulb. What are you going to do? How can you determine what you're going to do, right? So from my personal experience, I was given this task. Actually, I thought about this task. And I was thinking, okay, what values we could give people? Well, light is an ordinary stuff. I don't know what is your question. But then let me show you. Well, we have come up with a concept called visible light communication. We did that 7 years ago. We were kind of one of the 5 top, I would say in terms of light file or visible light communication, we are among the top in the world. And we managed to come up with a really good prototype using mobile phones, remember 7 years ago, using mobile phone to decode the light message. Not directly from the light, but from the reflected light. So at that time, we were pretty good. I was running the R&D institution for Catalonia. And then we managed to receive huge purchase order. You can see from this slide. You can do the math. You can imagine what is the order, the amount of that business. And what's more is, I hired a student intern, from engineering. And basically, he collaborated with my project manager to come up with this innovation. And after 1.5 years, Facebook grabbed him from Hong Kong to Silicon Valley. His salary was immediately $200K US at that time. So I would say, if you really want to maximize your engineering potential, why don't you consider also the business aspect as well? And this is only one example. Second example, this is one of my projects. We worked out the first smart farm in Guizhou in China, a very poor place. If I ask you as the engineering talent, what is the purpose of a smart farm? What would you say? If I give you like 15 seconds to think about that. If you have the answer, please type in Zoom, okay? And let me see whether you have got the same answer as me. Anyone? Can I really see the answers from them? Okay, don't worry. Well, I guess I got the typical answers before. For example, smart farm to basically increase the productivity, right? To kind of ease the operation, right? Well, these are typical answers. But in real life, from the business perspective, they are not the key answers, at least for farmers in mainland China. You may wonder why farmers in Australia, in North America, they are rich, while farmers in mainland China, they're really poor. Why? Is it the case that they cannot see the benefits of smart farm? Is it the case that they cannot see the benefits of automation? No, they are not dumb people. They are as smart as us. But how come they are not doing that? Simply because they cannot raise funds. We have been talking with farming companies, and they got this issue. Farming in mainland China, very difficult to raise funds because, they cannot really control the weather, cannot control the climate. So after understanding these human-centric needs and desires of the farming companies, we kind of came up with a strategy to basically develop this greenhouse in the picture. And what we worked is basically, we added some sensors and stuff so as to basically optimize the farm plan within the greenhouse. But the ultimate objective is not really that. The objective is to show investors that, farming can be under control. So the investors feel like, they can control the risk. And at last, that farming companies managed to raise funds. And now they have more than 10 farm sites in mainland China. But what about the impact? Oops. Let me go back to the previous one. Well, not only the farming company benefits from this, but also the local farmers. We managed to increase their annual income by 4 times. Okay, 4 times. Well, Guizhou is a very poor place. Okay, so this is one example. Second example. This is second example. Third example. Well, you can see these lovely pigs, right? Well, again, this is our farm in Vietnam. We are doing pig farming, okay? Again, I'm going to ask you the same question. Why do we need a smart farm? Well, I mean for pig farming. What will be your answers? Any brave ones? Well, innovation, well, you got to learn by doing. You need to be brave enough to try things out. Don't think only in your brains. You need to work it out, try it. Don't worry about the failure, because failure is a step closer to success. Okay? If you don't voice it out, you'll never get a chance. So why are we doing smart farming, pig farming? Well, you may think, okay, because we want to ensure that the pigs are healthy enough, right? We want to kind of, again, we'll optimize the pig farming, the farm plan. These are all true, I would say, but from the business owner's point of view, these are, again, not the key reasons. The key reason is if we deploy sensors here and there in the pig farm, we can have a very precise information of the numbers of different types of pigs and what stages they are in. And this information is super important to cash flow optimization. In the long run, if you don't worry about the cash flow, maybe the average profit will be more or less the same. The average revenue will be more or less the same. But if we don't optimize things from the engineering point of view, the process, the cash you need will fluctuate a lot. So this is the cash flow problem. And if suddenly at one point you need a large amount, huge amount of money, what can you do, right? Probably you cannot really survive the wave, and then maybe you will simply close the farm. So that's why we need smart farming. We want to optimize the cash flow. So these are some examples to let you know that having engineering excellence is definitely good, but if you can add another dimension, the business perspective to engineering, you're going to achieve greatness. Imagine, take a look at Steve Jobs from Apple and all the great entrepreneurs like Elon Musk. They all have the vision, they all have excellence in engineering, but they also have a great team. And that is why you need business. That is why you need to know how to measure the values of one another and how to kind of strategize your whole operation. And these all stuff you can basically learn from engineering school and business school through this program. So hopefully, well, very soon, we are going to be able to see you guys in person at HKU. Thank you very much.
All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Lo, for showing us the connections of engineering and business in real life. And now I would like to pass the time to a current student, again, Ryan Pan, who will tell us a little bit more about his experience with HKU.
Thank you, Ying. Hi, everyone. A very good afternoon to everyone attending this seminar. Thank you so much. I'm very honored to be here to give the sharing. My name is Ryan Pan. First of all, probably I give a self-introduction first. Sorry about that. Yes, I'm a year 5 student now at the double degree programs of engineering and business. Originally, I'm from Malaysia and China. This year, June, I just graduated from the Department of Civil Engineering, and I'm now in my final years in the HKU Business School, and my major in wealth management. Yeah, civil engineering and wealth management, probably most of the high school students does not really know what that's about. Civil engineering is the subject of infrastructure, buildings. Narrowly speaking, we talk about stability, structure designs. Wealth management is more subjects in the direction of investment, finance. Students usually learn, we have to understand the macroeconomics, what's the financial market, and all the different asset classes. It's so different. Yes, my combination is kind of not that common. I had a quite challenging time during my undergraduate, but also I would say that you tighten more, you gain more, and I do believe that my combinations did help me to have more and better opportunities compared to my peers who purely study business or engineering. Yes, return to 5-6 years ago when I was like everyone here having the need to choose from different schools among different majors. I did have quite complicated but very rough like considerations which uni should I go to, because I'm an A-level student. Actually, I have quite a lot of choice. It's quite a lot of considerations, after which I decided to come to Hong Kong U, even over the offer from Cambridge and Imperial. Scholarship is among one of the reasons, but also it's because that during that time I really have a very strong interest in high school that I want to do sustainable building development and also the business case competitions, because I gained a lot of experience from the high school competition experience. When I search online to talk to the professors from Hong Kong U, I realized that in Hong Kong U, the program structures and also course enrollments are very, very flexible. And when I got to know that I can proceed to my both interests under these programs in 5 years at the same university, there's only one voice in my mind. This is exactly what I want, so I'm here. But if I look back, it was a pretty simple decision, mostly based on my interest. But now, after I finished 4 years of studies, I would say I'm really grateful that I made that decision. I learned a lot here, and so the remaining part of my sharing, basically, I would just want to speak as a final year student who are about to graduate to share a bit why this program, this double degree program, is something you can't miss, and what actually can it bring to you. Engineering and business, the skill set trained by the two faculty and schools are quite different. In engineering, we focus a lot on numerical, logical deductions. We also try to create possibilities. But in business schools, your interpersonal skills are trained, people skills. You're always trying to provide solutions empathetically. Actually, the both sides are very important and critical for me. Like I feel like it's very important for the people's development. And also, I think the combination also helped me to actually learn better in both engineering and also the business study. The two disciplines is very, very irrelated, but the perceived non-overlapping is actually the point why we take this program. Because after all, students have to figure out how you're going to balance it, how you're going to integrate it, but the way towards the balance, towards the integration, and also all the great things along your way towards the destination will eventually become your asset. Engineering and business both are very application oriented. So looking for job, looking for internship are always happened and also found on our lips in Hong Kong U. It's not only about the practical knowledge, and also it's for you to explore your possibility, explore what's the best fit for you. I always say I'm very, very lucky, not only because I landed jobs that I love from one of in my internship, but also I think I have the opportunity to try out different industry, different job natures. In 4 years, I had 7 internships in total. Some of them are directly related to my previous study and school work. For example, I interned in one of the largest global engineering consulting firms. I also interned in the private banking division in one Chinese bank and also one US bank. I had a chance to talk to one of my HR friends in banking last year. I asked her why. What make you like pick me from the CV screening? And he just she said and kind of jokingly saying, because your engineering background, the training back your school in 4 years, is actually what we are looking for. I was quite confused. As I was thinking, since when engineering background becomes so important and becomes so popular at Hong Kong? Probably it's our way of thinking. Looking back to my previous experience, so I do have some previous working during which my engineering background helped me a lot. For example, when I worked in a venture capital fund, although our investments are all about startups, but the investment decision never only based on the investment perspectives. It's to really understand what the product, the technology your investees provide probably is something that your boss really looking forward to know from you. And also even in the private wealth management perspective, when your clients really start to look at the stocks from semiconductors, from Chinese new infrastructure, actually both of which are the most trending topics this year among the Hong Kong investors, then you will only realize that your engineering training, your business knowledge, and your way of thinking is really advantageous. Yeah, that's for the career. I will say that how much you achieve really depends on your personal efforts, your luck, but I am very honest to you, the combination of my 2 degrees at least doubled my possibility. Also, there are a lot of abundant resources that Hong Kong use. Our university is always our strongest support, especially the people here. I got a chance to meet up alumni of different generations who are leading in their own professional horizon. They are so supportive, they are so caring, always willing to share. And I'm also very appreciative that I made so many friendships, the bondings we built up from study, from whole life, college, sports team, or even overseas exchange. All of them are always at my back. We share the joy. Also, we laugh then, we cry then. This, for me, it will be lifelong. Also, I would say that throughout my 4 years in Hong Kong youth, there's a lot of unexpected exposures I never thought of when I first came here. I never thought of I can lead a choir to win international competitions. I never thought of that we will lead a marathon for charity. I never think of that I can chair orientation programs for students from more than 20 countries. And I also never expect myself to have the chance to work with the Ontario government for a public consultation event during my exchange in Toronto. Yes, work, studies, trying to make new friends, extracurricular, and stepping out of your comfort zones. All of this compose my university life. It's quite busy, rewarding, I would say very memorable. No one will have the same stories. It's never as alike as 2 pieces. But I would say how much you want to explore Hong Kong U, this piece of land, how much you are going to use the resources here, how much you are going to pursue your own goal. Dream starts here, like what Dr. Lo said, but the pen is always in your hand. So I think that's more or less about my sharing. Hope you guys feel it's helpful. Thank you very much. I would like to pass the time back to Ying.
All right, thank you, Ryan. So last but not least, can I have Ankit? Ankit, you can take the floor, please. Thank you.
Thank you, Ying. Hello, everybody. My name is Ankit. I'm an alumni of this university. And so today, I wanted to speak to you about my experience after Hong Kong U and how I realized that the success in the real world, after you graduate from university lies a lot in how you connect your knowledge and how you leverage those ideas and the ability to connect them to ultimately achieve success and maximize your impact. And it very well fits into the premise that the university has introduced this double degree program. And I felt that it's worth sharing a little bit about my own experience and sort of share a bit more about the people who I get inspired by and sort of the way they have sort of achieved their success and some of these building blocks that I think this program will ultimately provide you as you think about entering university and building your own sort of dream after. So a little bit about me. My name is Ankit. I graduated from HKU quite a while back now, 2013. I did a double major as well. I didn't do business, but I did an engineering major in computer science, and I did a second major in social science. Company about 3 years ago called Plan 2. So when I sort of graduated out of university, I had this idea in my head that executing ideas was my biggest differentiation, but I think I was wrong. And I wanted to take you through various parts of my experience post my graduation. So unlike my fellow speaker here, Ryan, I had an incredible time in university, but I probably wasn't the most amazing when it comes to my grades and exams. And yet, I could land a job at a bank. And people would ask me, how would you do that? And actually, when I look back at my experience at university, similar to the images that Ryan had showed, there was a lot of resources given to us into actually executing various kind of ideas that Professor Lowe showed, various kind of projects that you can execute. So when I was a computer science student studying out in university, I would partner out with my fellow friends in engineering, in business, in social science, and we would execute new ideas and reach out to various funds available in the universities to actually execute on those projects. One of the projects that we did was actually building out this water filtration tank in Guizhou in China, where we would sort of ultimately, sort of harvest the rainwater and ultimately help, those villages located on top of the mountains where people had to travel really far trying to actually get water. And so this was again sort of the idea of actually leveraging an engineering knowledge and building a group of people and seeking out the resources from the university into actually making something happen. So when I was interviewing for my job at HSBC, I remember in my final round, the interviewer actually asked me, they said, your GPA seems to be the lowest among everybody in your final round interviews. What do you think about that? And I said, well, I think that now, more than ever, I believe that innovation needs us to connect ideas and knowledge. And the reason why I think that I'll be able to succeed going forward into my career is because I'm able to pick up those ideas and connect them to ultimately, bring success to the ultimate sort of, objectives for the business. So as I entered my corporate career, the first sort of, as I entered sort of the 2-year program of my corporate life, I was told that within the 2 years at the bank, I would sort of go around working in various parts of the technology team, and then sort of do a couple of stints in some business teams as well. So in my first month itself, being the kind of person who wants to execute all the time, I actually saw a certain opportunity where I could build up something new for the bank. And so I wrote down a proposal, worked day and night in my first month at the bank, built out this really long presentation, sort of big slide deck, and then presented it to my sort of bosses. And then after the end of the presentation, they asked me, so what is the ultimate impact for this, for the business? And I had absolutely no idea. And I think that's when I sort of started to realize that it wasn't so much about sitting down and just sort of, laying out, sort of executing on a particular idea, but it was to, again, what is it that's going to impact? What is it that's going to leverage the expertise that you have to ultimately create that impact for the business, and how ultimately it would impact the revenue or the cost for the business. So time and time again, as I was as working through my corporate career of 3 years, I sort of made that mistake again and again of just executing on my expertise, executing on my engineering expertise, and sort of making that mistake of never really trying to connect those engineering or sort of those expertise with the real business world out there. And so as I learned this lesson in my first 3 years of corporate career, I became even more curious, because now I started to realize that actually I could use the ability to program to actually make real impact and actually build new startups, just the way people like Mark Zuckerberg built Facebook. And so on the side, along with my sort of along with my banking job, I started solving problems. In Hong Kong, when you go to one of these tea shops, when you guys are in Hong Kong, you may try bubble teas and stuff. You'll be given these stamp cards, which are in paper. And I asked myself, why do these people use stamp cards? But the difference this time was that I didn't sit down to program a technology around stamp cards. I went and spoke personally to more than 60 cafes in Hong Kong, trying to understand why did they use a paper stamp card when they could just use a technology. And that change in idea was a process that I had to go through. If I would have done this during my time in university, or when I had just started out my career, I would have first written down the whole technology, launched the product, and then would have waited for people to tell me the exact same thing. And so rather than wasting 4 to 5 months developing an application, I actually got the reason why they don't use this piece of technology within a matter of days. So I think as I sort of did my multiple sort of side technologies, it became vividly clear to me that it's important to have the ability to execute, because you can move extremely fast, but it's extremely important to first understand why it matters and what success it can bring. And that's really where human-centric engineering, as we just spoke about, is what sort of this holistic mindset became extremely important into the real world. And so I think ultimately it sort of resulted in me starting this fintech called Plan2, which about 3 years ago, where I actually sort of saw an opportunity into helping people, thinking about the way they manage money and sort of understanding. And before we even started sort of building technology, we first worked through the business plan, trying to understand exactly, what it would need for this technology to reach many people and ultimately make this a profitable business model. So, by the time I graduated from university, I used to believe that, executing ideas was my biggest differentiation. I would sort of move extremely fast. As an engineer, I would be able to, grasp ideas and just sort of execute them on the go. But sort of 6 years later, I think I was wrong. I think connecting thoughts and being able to conceptualize why a piece of execution matters to the real world is the most important sort of skill set. And beyond that, if you can execute, then that's when you become extremely resourceful as a person. And I just want to sort of take a quick look at a couple of people who I admire as well. On the first image, this gentleman is the CEO of HSBC in Asia Pacific. And obviously, HSBC being the first organization where I started my career, I would sort of look up to his speeches within the bank and sort of learn from him. And if you look at on the right, I sort of copy-pasted his biography from the Wikipedia article. And if you look at the amount of experience that a CEO has gotten before they actually became CEO, what becomes extremely clear is that it's not just an experience in one area, it's an experience across various different aspects of banking organization, whether it's in the business, it's in the operations, it's in the technology. There is various kinds of sort of knowledge that these people who have become successful CEOs of humongous companies out there, it's very clear that these people are essentially trying to diversify as much experience and gain that knowledge and ultimately become resourceful themselves to be able to execute on this knowledge. If you look at Satya Nadella, the global CEO of Microsoft as well, and look at his experience, he has worked in sort of the technology teams like the cloud team, he has worked in business teams, he has worked in the R&D teams, even the business teams to understand how the business development works before he became the CEO of Microsoft. So again, I think when you look at sort of global CEOs, and it's extremely clear that these people have spent considerable amount of time trying to diversify their experience as much as possible, because they understand how much it means when you're able to connect various ideas and are able to sort of execute on those. And so I think in the audience here, we probably have students who are just about to complete high school and probably entering 20s very soon. This gentleman here, Frank Purdue, he's one of the most successful entrepreneurs in North America, having sold food to people around the world. He said something that's extremely interesting, which is when you enter 20s, you learn, and in 30s, you earn. And essentially what he means by this is that, in your 20s, you got to maximize the amount of learning that you are doing on a daily basis, because when you enter your 30s, it's time you take up all of that resources, whether it's your knowledge, your friends, your network, and leverage that to ultimately, earn in form of respect, in form of wealth, in form of the impact that you are going to create for the world. And I think another aspect of the way we actually think about perhaps 20s after you actually graduate is that for some reason, a lot of me and my friends, we have sort of noticed that post-university, we tend to actually start to filter out a lot of knowledge. Back in university, we used to be interested in a lot of different topics. But after university, over time, you start to filter out various parts of knowledge. And I think that intellectual curiosity that we have during university gives us that capability to maximize that knowledge, because as you sort of graduate, enter your job, you will find yourself with less time and potentially lesser sort of energy to grasp all of that knowledge as well. So I think my sharing is laying the emphasis on actually acquiring as much knowledge as you can today, because ultimately, as we have seen through some of the most successful CEOs, it will ultimately pay off in the form of impact you can make. So that's it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Ken. Thank you very much for all the speakers. Now we have a few questions that are coming in. Unfortunately, we don't have the time to go through all of them, but we will pick a few. Students obviously are interested in the program. They want to know what the requirements for the program would be. So maybe I would direct this question to either Professor Lam or Professor Chang to tell us about the minimum requirement for the GEBP program.
Yeah, thank you, Ying, and thank you for the very important questions. I think that most of the students want to know how can enter this very interesting and prestigious program. Now, let me give you some information. For Jupiter students, English language, we need to reach level 4. And for the Chinese language, level 3. Mathematics, core level 4. Liberal studies level 2, physics or combined science with physics component level 3. And another elective subject of level 3. For students who are taking international qualifications, we expect the lower boundary for IB students to be 35 with a 6 in high-level math and physics. And 2A star 1A or above for A-level students with A or better in mathematics and physics at A level. So if you want to have a full list of qualifications that we recognize, please make sure that you refer to our admissions office website. Thank you.
Thank you. So, okay, that's an interesting question. So, we talk a lot about being an entrepreneur. So, if the students actually are not thinking about becoming an entrepreneur, how would this program actually benefit him or her? So, perhaps, Dr. Low, would you like to take that?
Okay, sure. That's an easy one. Well, after all, no matter where you work at, you need to basically collaborate. It is a human-based business. So you still need to convey your ideas. For example, you need to propose to your seniors, right? Even you are working at the engineering firm. And again, as we have just mentioned, business is not only about making monies. It is about value matching, allowing you to know what the other people need and how you are going to be able to effectively and efficiently convey your idea to the others, and how you are able to basically gather all the resources together so as to achieve the goal. So even you simply want to be an engineer, if you want to be a successful one, then you need that, definitely.
Thank you, Dr. Low. So now, maybe just a quick last question for Ed Kit. So if the students want to start their own company, they want to have their own startup, so what would be some of your advice for these students?
I think my biggest advice for students is to first of all solve a problem that you care about a lot. Don't solve problems just because they're a good business. That's the only way you're going to be able to build out a great company. And the other one is become as resourceful as possible. Even if it's knowledge or it's sort of network, your professors, your friends, become as resourceful as possible.
All right. Thank you very much, Ankit. And thank you very much again for all our speakers. They have given us a lot of information about the session. And as a reminder, make sure you also join the virtual tour for the Innovation Wing, which is conducted in English in less than 10 minutes. So make sure you join that session. And we look forward to welcoming you on campus and receiving your application. So thank you very much, everyone, and have a great day.